The Galdor were legends across the stars, a race bred for war, their bodies forged in the heat of 1,000 battlefields, and their minds sharpened by centuries of conquest. Their massive fleets, bristling with weaponry capable of leveling planets, left destruction in their wake. To them, war was not a necessity or a means of survival. It was a sacred right. The Galdor believed that strength alone determined a species' right to exist, and their superiority had never been challenged. That is, until they turned their eyes toward Earth. Aboard the sleek flagship, the Impose, Supreme Commander Korgith of the Galdor brooded in his command chair, his massive frame, encased in ceremonial armor, reflected the harsh, metallic light of the ship's war room. "This is the species that has spread so far, so fast," he said, the deep rumble of his voice reverberating across the chamber. "Yet they have achieved nothing worthy of recognition." His second-in-command, General Drakner, nodded. "Their history is one of constant struggle of weakness. They clawed their way from the dirt, but they lacked the power to hold it. No unified empire, no grand fleet, merely scattered alliances, clinging to hope." Korgith sneered. "And they call themselves sentient? They think themselves worthy of the stars? They are vermin, and we shall crush them." With a flick of his wrist, the hologram shifted, displaying an image of Earth's representative, an unassuming diplomat named Angelina Roberts. Standing on the steps of the United Nations, her calm voice had echoed across the airwaves in response to the Galdor's demand for Earth's immediate surrender. "We will not kneel," she had said. "We recognize your strength, but we have learned that power without purpose is a path to ruin. If you wish to engage us in war, know that we will not fight in the way you expect." Korgith had scoffed at her words then, but now they gnawed at him. What could these fragile beings possibly mean by a different way? His species had perfected war across millennia, their arsenal unmatched. Yet something in the human diplomat's measured tone irritated him, an implication that humanity held something they did not. "Commander," Drakner growled, his reptilian eyes narrowing, "these humans are arrogant. They believe they can deceive us with their words. Stall for time. Shall we begin the assault? It would be over within the hour." Korgith clenched his fists, the armored plates creaking under the pressure. "No." His voice was cold and deliberate. "Let them play their game. I will meet with their representatives. Let them show me what they think we lack." Drakner's surprise was evident, but he dared not question the Supreme Commander. Korgith's patience was legendary, though often short-lived. It was why he had remained undefeated for so long. He attacked only when the victory was absolute. On Earth, a meeting unlike any other was about to take place. Angelina Roberts stood before a holographic projection of Korgith. Behind her, a team of human historians, military strategists, and diplomats sat in silence. The air was tense, but Angelina's voice remained steady. "Supreme Commander Korgith," she began, "we understand why you seek war with us. We have studied species like yours, those who believe that strength is everything. But we have seen, time and again, that war alone is not the answer." Korgith leaned forward, his image towering over the room. "I have heard your kind's empty platitudes before, human. You speak of peace as though it is a shield, but we know it is the coward's way. Do you believe you can lecture us into submission?" Angelina's gaze did not waver. "We don't expect you to surrender. We simply ask that before you wage war, you understand the cost. We wish to show you what we've learned from our own history, lessons carved in blood and destruction." The Supreme Commander barked a harsh laugh. "You think your history can frighten us? You are nothing compared to the worlds we have conquered, the empires we have laid to waste." "Perhaps," Angelina said softly, "but we want you to see what war has truly brought us. Not just glory or victory, but loss, scars that never heal. If you still wish to fight us after that, then we will face you." Korgitha's gaze was unyielding. "Very well, human. Show me this history of yours. But know this. If I find it lacking, I will bring the full force of the Galdor upon your world. And when I do, you will wish you had bowed." The transmission cut off. leaving the room in a heavy silence. Angelina exhaled slowly, turning to face the others. We bought ourselves time. Now, we show them the truth. The human team exchanged grim looks. They knew what they were about to present was more than just facts and figures. It was the soul of their species, laid bare in moments of war and suffering. It was a gamble, but in the face of annihilation, it was the only one they had left. As the lights dimmed and the first historical footage flickered to life on the display, the weight of history itself seemed to settle over the room. The lesson was about to begin. The room was heavy with silence as the first images of destruction flickered to life on the screen. Angelina Roberts stood at the center, her voice calm yet solemn as she narrated what would be humanity's first lesson for the Galdor. Korgotha's massive, holographic form loomed in the middle of the room, his piercing eyes fixed on the display, though his posture betrayed nothing of what he thought. "This is Hiroshima," Angelina began. The footage showed the city before the bombing. Busy streets, markets filled with life, people going about their day unaware that in moments everything would change. Then came the blinding flash, the detonation of the doomsday bomb. The once thriving city was reduced to rubble. Firestorms sweeping through the remains and the aftermath was unspeakable. Radiation poisoning disfigured survivors, and generations haunted by the fallout. The Galdor were unmoved. To them, it was simply the consequence of war, the result of humanity's pursuit of greater power. Korgoth folded his arms across his chest. "You show us devastation, but we have seen far worse. This is what we call victory." Angelina nodded, expecting this reaction. "It's not the destruction that we want you to understand," she continued. "It's the cost. For that single bomb, hundreds of thousands died. And for what? To end a war, yes, but the damage left scars that will last forever, on our bodies, our minds, our history. This was a victory, but one we would never wish to repeat." A flicker of something crossed Korgotha's expression, but he remained silent as the footage transitioned to another conflict. "This is Vietnam," Angelina said, as images of jungle warfare filled the screen. American soldiers marched through dense forests while unseen enemies lurked in the shadows, striking from hidden positions. Here, a technologically superior force met an enemy they could not see or understand. The war dragged on for years, with both sides suffering heavy losses. And in the end, despite their military might, the superpower failed. Korgoth leaned forward, his interest piqued. "So the weaker prevailed?" "In a way, yes," Angelina replied. "But the war took its toll on both sides. It was a conflict where neither won. Entire villages were burned, civilians killed. The soldiers who returned home were haunted by what they had done and seen. No one emerged from this war without scars. It was a victory in name only." Korgotha's eyes narrowed as he studied the screen, watching soldiers fighting an enemy they could not defeat with sheer firepower. His people had never faced such a challenge, never encountered an enemy that forced them to rethink their approach. They had always relied on superior strength in numbers. The idea that weakness could triumph through persistence was foreign to him, but he couldn't deny its intrigue. Still, his skepticism remained. "You show me failure and loss, but these are merely the failures of your own kind. What does this prove to the Galdor? That your species cannot handle war?" Angelina remained composed. "Not quite. We fought for many reasons, resources, land, power. But over time, we've learned that these things come at a price we've paid in blood. What we're trying to show you is that the pursuit of strength alone, without consideration for its cost, can be your undoing." The screen shifted once again, and now the image of two superpowers appeared, the America and the Soviet. It was the Cold War, the era of brinkmanship. For decades, two nations armed themselves with enough weapons to destroy the planet many times over, she said. They stood on the edge of war, each prepared to obliterate the other. But no war was fought, not because they lacked the strength, but because both sides understood that to strike would mean mutual destruction. The Galdor commander sat in silence, watching the stockpiles of missiles grow larger and larger. There was no grand battle, no explosion, only a tense stalemate that stretched on for years. And still no war. Your kind does not fight when they have the power to win? Korgoth asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. We didn't fight because we understood that if we did, we would destroy ourselves, Angelina answered. True strength is not in the weapons you wield, but in the wisdom to know when not to use them. We chose peace, not out of fear, but because we valued what we had built more than the need to destroy our enemies. For the first time, Korgoth was quiet. The holographic display flickered off, and the room was bathed in dim light. Angelina could sense the weight of the Galdor commander's contemplation, the cracks forming in his once unshakable belief in war as the only path to greatness. You have shown us much, Korgoth said after a long pause. But I do not yet see why your kind believes itself to be our equal. Angelina met his gaze without hesitation. We don't claim to be your equal in strength, Commander, but in resilience, in the ability to endure and rebuild. We have no rival. The strongest species are not the ones who destroy. They are the ones who learn from their mistakes and emerge stronger. If you choose to fight us, we will resist with everything we have, not out of a desire for war, but because we understand what it means to survive. Korgoth's silence lingered. There was no rebuttal, only the echo of Angelina's words hanging in the air. The challenge had been laid bare, not a battle of weapons, but of understanding. And for the first time, the Galdors might seem insufficient. The lesson was not over. It had only just begun. The room remained still after Angelina's final words. The Galdor, once so certain of their superiority, were now silent, their earlier arrogance replaced by a quiet contemplation. Supreme Commander Korgoth sat motionless, his face a mask of cold deliberation. His eyes, however, betrayed a flicker of doubt, a question he had never before allowed himself to ask. What if strength alone wasn't enough? Beside him, General Drakner shifted uneasily. They speak of survival, he muttered, his voice low but charged with anger. But they hide behind their words, just as all weak species do. They lack the courage to face us in battle. Korgoth did not respond immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the humans before him, particularly Angelina Roberts. Something about her had unsettled him from the beginning. Not her stature, which was insignificant by Galdor's standards, nor her lack of any obvious threat, but the calm in her eyes. She had faced him, the supreme commander of the strongest species in the universe, without flinching, without pleading for mercy or showing fear. That calm, he realized, was born of something deeper than power. It was resilience. They do not lack courage, Korgoth said at last, his voice quiet but firm. They have faced wars as we have, but they have learned to avoid them when possible. That, in itself, requires a kind of strength we have yet to embrace. Drakner stared at his leader, stunned. You cannot be serious, Commander. These humans are soft, fragile. They show us their weaknesses and expect us to respect them. Korgoth's gaze darkened as he turned to his general. Tell me, Drakner, how many civilizations have we destroyed in our conquests? Dozens, perhaps hundreds, Drakner answered, his confusion growing. And what remains of them? Korgoth pressed. Have any of them learned from our victories over them? Have any of them grown stronger because of our wars, or have they all crumbled to dust? The general was silent, his jaw tightening. He had never considered the aftermath of their victories, only the glory of conquest. Korgoth turned back to Angelina. You claim that your kind has learned from war, that you have emerged stronger not because you sought conflict, but because you survived it. Show me more. Angelina exchanged a glance with the historians behind her, who quickly brought up another set of holographic images. This time, it was not what they displayed, but the aftermath of it. The rebuilding of cities, the mending of nations, footage of human cooperation, of soldiers and civilians alike working together to restore what had been lost. We fought, yes, Angelina explained, but we also rebuilt. The true test of a species is not how it wages war, but how it recovers from it. We have faced annihilation and learned to rise from the ashes. That is where our strength lies. The Galdor commanders watched the footage in silence. Korgotha's expression remained inscrutable, but there was something in his eyes, a recognition, perhaps, of a truth long denied. He had seen countless victories, yet never once had the Galdor rebuilt anything. They destroyed, they conquered, but they never created. In their eyes, creation was the work of the weak. But now, as he watched humanity's scars heal, he began to wonder, was it weakness to build? Was it not, in fact, the greatest strength of all? Korgoth turned to the rest of his war council, each of whom seemed similarly disturbed by the images before them. The silence between them spoke volumes. Centuries of unquestioned belief in war as the ultimate path to greatness now hung in the balance. "It is not too late to learn," Angelina said softly, sensing the shift in the room. "Your strength is undeniable, but it can be something more. You have the power to build as we have, to evolve beyond the need for constant war." General Drakner growled, his fists clenching. "Commander, we cannot allow ourselves to be swayed by their weakness. If we do not conquer them, we will be seen as weak." Korgoth raised a hand, silencing him. "What will we gain from another war, Drakner? Another victory? Another world reduced to ruin? The humans are not asking for mercy. They are offering us a choice. We can continue as we always have, crushing those we see as beneath us, or we can choose a different path." Drakner's protest died in his throat as Korgoth stood to his full height, addressing both the humans and his war council. "For centuries, the Galdor have measured strength by the wars we've fought, the enemies we've destroyed. But today, I see a species that has learned something we have not. That true strength lies not in destruction, but in survival, in rebuilding, and in learning from the past." Angelina held her breath, sensing the moment of decision approaching. Korgotha's voice, though calm, was filled with the weight of a leader who had carried the mantle of conquest for far too long. "You have shown us the scars of your history, and in doing so, you have revealed our own. We are the strongest species. Yes, but strength without wisdom is hollow. Today, we will not wage war. Instead, we will seek to learn from you." The room was silent, the weight of his words settling over both the humans and the Galdor. Drakner's face twisted in barely concealed fury, but even he did not dare to challenge the Supreme Commander's decision. Korgoth turned to Angelina once more, his expression softer than before. "You have earned your place among the stars, human, and perhaps, in time, we will learn to build as you have." Angelina nodded, her relief tempered by the gravity of the moment. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed an enemy into an ally. And as the Galdor's holographic image faded, she knew that this was just the beginning. The strongest species in the universe had chosen peace over war, and for the first time in their history, they were ready to learn.